Alright, so we are somewhere in northwestern Ontario in first gear 4 low. Roxy? Are you here, Roxy? Come on, you got a window over there. Roxy. So this is where you're at wit's end because the woman that you once loved when you were like 19 years old or 20 years old or whatever, you know, you're looking for that beautiful woman that you want to maybe have a family with, like your family taught you to do. You know, values. And my family values are just a little bit up in the air right now and compromised because till death do us part is actually fine because Faye gets the loophole of me having flatlined several times. My name is Sean Robertson. I have this alter ego, performer, bipolar, whatever you want to call me. Very creative person. Jonathan Cross. Now we're looking down at a city where my father's briefcase was once left in a crawl space, and I found some of his old business cards. And there was some discussion back and forth on 2 business cards between a gentleman from Ignis who had some float planes for sale, and my father was a bush pilot. So my father met his demise in a de Havilland Beaver. Haven't been built for a long time, but if you go into the Bass Pro Sports, whatever it is, fishing place by Wonderland on 400, Bass Pro Mills, pardon me. This will be edited, right? Maybe. Or maybe we'll just leave it raw and throw it out there. Anyway, there was this girl I met when I was a young guy, and she wasn't into me at all. And like the idiot I am, I pursued her anyway. This woman, I took her a rose and told her she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life. She was a friend of a friend, and my bass player Billy told me that he was at a party once at Patty Latour's place, and he met this girl Faye. Chris was there, Kenny was there, and Faye met the band. And so we happened to be playing because, boy oh boy, we played Monday to Wednesday at Champs in Aurelia of all places. Aurelia is a couple hours right out of the Toronto airport where this plane that we're going to fly eventually is going to land. And the Toronto Island Airport to Aurelia being 2 hours by car, that's just too far when I'm flying in from Ignis, if I happen to be flying in from Ignis. So we're going to go downhill a little bit faster. I'm just going to keep talking. This is a 32 gig iPad. I'm sure I have enough time to find my way back to the highway and find my way to the gentleman who my father conversed with about the purchase of a Norseman. And in these little notes that I found, my dad said, "My son loves to fish off the floats of the Otter." We took some kids and we dropped some planes off the floats. And I gave my son a fishing rod for his 5th birthday. I think it was his 5th birthday. I think the thing said his 5th. Anyway, they were just little notes on business cards, so the guys knew who they were. They had this code that they would leave them at the pyramids where the Ignis had these 2 pyramids for sand, and there's a spot that they would tuck these cards. So anyway, this is quite the ride, Roxy. How are you making it? You know what we need? We need some sort of prop out front, so let's go with this. As long as this is on the dash, we should be safe. Yeah. Being as I'm learning to fly and trying to follow in my dad's adventurous footsteps, I went and got stranded the whole way and got really angry with the Lord, right? Because I'm trying to have somebody along with me. Roxy's cool, but she doesn't really tell me what to do other than that she needs to pee and eat. Roxy is a 9-year-old shepherd that was in the Peterborough Humane Society for far too long. So long that the groomers all kind of adopted her and took her week to week. And we took her over to see the folks at the Ugly Pug on Pido Road. Pido Road, where you can get your dog groomed and go buy your hydroponics setup if you want to have a home hydroponics place. Kirk Berardi, the singer for the Blitz. This is how the story goes, okay? I was in a band called Sapphire. Sapphire had Kyle, Jamie, And it had me as the front man with the most incredible bass player singer you ever did see when you were a little guy like me. Her name was Kim Rogers. And Kim took me out in a Toyota Celica to the practices. Kim took me back home. I would hitchhike sometimes, and Kim would come along and pick me up in a red Toyota Celica. And I was absolutely enamored with her, but I was going out with Heather. Now, that's another story, but basically, let's go back to Heather for a moment. I went to a party one night at Sherry Rogers' house. My friend Rob McElwain built a house that I have a handicap B&B called Mystic Manor Bed and Breakfast. And we have only one person feeding us clients, and that's Jill Exton. She's from England. Her family immigrated here and started a little store in Lakefield called Stuff. Now Stuff has taken off because these people are awesome. You can't help but want to just buy stuff.
Route
right?
calculation.
Get it? I didn't even catch that until it went by. So you want to buy stuff from them. Now, I went in and bought some stuff last year because I had a bar that I set up. And what I found out about the bar is that if you enable your friends who drink too much, they end up passed out on your lawn, or they call the police and say that you threw them down a flight of stairs and they bled for 6 hours before they woke up and called you. Then the fun part for me was the victim services people changed my locks, and I was forced to hide out on my tour bus because I was a wanted man. I bought this tour bus. It was 75 MCI.
Prepare to turn right in 250 meters.
Belonging to Michael Jackson first, and then I picked him up in New York City apparently for the ABC
Take
tour.
next right.
Looked like Sesame Street with a tour bus. Anyway, Oscar the Grouch wasn't in the picture, but I guess it's in Guinness. This 77 Guinness or something. I'm just going by what Sean from L&H. Sean has my bus right now because the bus is busy being fixed after being stolen by the guy who I hired. And Anita Fleming assured me he was a long-distance truck driver. Since I had just bought a car for my mom from her, well, half a car, my mom had paid that. Pretty good deal, though. Mom gets half a car paid for, even though she's still trying to borrow the car payments off my ex-wife, whatever. Anyway. It's a good thing I'm taking my meds, because if I weren't, I would probably go off in too many different directions. Here we are in Ignis. We took the back way, and we're at the Trading Post Motel, where they have free breakfasts. I'm not actually staying here. I'm just pulling over so I can continue my story. So Heather was at Sherry Rogers' party. We were watching Amityville Horror. Came to a commercial. The much older and very beautiful, with the long auburn hair, Heather Ellis. Strong features. Was very, very strong lady. Broad shoulders, but so unbelievably just beautiful. I'm a snot-nosed kid, right? So I'm watching the movie at Sherry's place. Rob's making out with Sherry, his girlfriend, who he eventually married and had children with. Go figure, I did that too with a girlfriend that didn't even like me, ever. But anyway. So, Heather did. Heather liked me. And Heather was from Surrey, BC. She called Canada, Canada. And she thought that I should get a van and go on the road with my band. I couldn't afford a van. God, my father had died. My mother was working 4 till midnight. I had a babysitter 5 days a week that allowed me the privilege of driving the snowmobile so that she could make out with her boyfriend, Greg Thaberge, from the Memorial Cup champion Peterborough Pete's. I got to meet the Pete's a bunch of times, Greg and Nancy Malamatsa and Bob Atwell. They used to come over and play this game, and it was called, I don't remember, but the things popped up when they had a timer and something happened. Anyway. So Terry Bovair was another guy. Terry owns a Source for Sports. He could have been one of the best players in the league. You should have seen him at number 23. When I was a kid, man, I played for All Saints, and I wanted to be number 23 so bad, but they didn't have it, so I ended up as 18. Didn't end up so bad, because 18 is what? Sorry. Mighty Mites. North Crest Arena. Not far from my house. My mother put me just after my father had died. I'm 6 years old, and I was on a team. I think it was Mr. Natras, who was the coach. Sean Natras was on my team. I think he was number 12 or 14 or something. But I wanted 23 so bad because this guy, Terry Bovair, was really neat when I met him. And they hadn't won the Memorial Cup yet, okay? This is before. Ontario is where I buy my bicycles and where I buy my bike rack. And I tried to trade him for his Pacifica for my Jeep, but he wanted to wait and deal with Mr. Stewart out at Stewart's in Norwood. And so, I mean, I dealt there too. And traded the Jeep that I got from Anita, oh my God. Anita helped me fix the Jeep after it broke from driving in the water. You're supposed to be able to, but this one didn't like 3 feet of water. And my bus driver got it stuck in a hole that somebody else had just been pulled out of, blah, 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 blah. And Darren Ramsey is the bus driver's actual name. He has several aliases, including Drone Harris and Darren, oh my God, what is it? Darren Huey was what he was going by when he showed me his Z license and his log books. And he showed me a letter of reference from Cathcart, and I don't believe anybody understands how twisted this story gets, but Darren got my Jeep stuck in a hole, so I took it to Anita, and it had a porcelain casing that had smashed a little bit like my pelvis into several hundred pieces. It didn't take quite as long as to change as my pelvis. My pelvis is now 8 rods with little balls. I've asked to see a DVD 400 times, but I have an inept case manager who can't get anything together other than she says she's a fan and wanted to learn to play drums. Kind of get a little bit sick of the case manager doing nothing to help me, but wants to maybe, you know, talks a lot about how sex is really good for your stress levels and how I should really just cover the world from the sun like she did and have sex, and maybe if I needed a partner she could learn to play drums, and in exchange she would try and help me. I told her I was impotent, because I was. At the time that I told her, and my lover at the time being Carolyn Johnston, who I first met at the Memorial Center when I was 7 years old. Carolyn Johnston was the greatest and most giving lover I've ever had, and she was the 4th lover of my life and the 7th lover of my life. She's lucky 7. But she was actually the 4th, so she's Bobby Orr number 4. Speaking of which, and this just leads me to one thing to another. It's not because I'm not medicated, Carolyn, you medical genius, you. I think if you were to check the blood, the records that the doctors have drawn from Life Labs, and if you were to check as far back as you like, my lithium levels are pretty consistent. They had them a little bit high after Ontario Works, but that was because everybody gets really, really structured medication times. And sometimes I don't take mine at night, I take it in the morning. And then I've taken it in the morning and I'm still kind of droopy from the Lyrica. So I don't end up taking it until 2 in the morning the next day. And it takes me 3 days to get back on where I can go to bed at 2 in the morning after the last Criminal Minds. Get up in the morning at about 9 and just make breakfast and spoil you a little and hope you let me touch your feet, because I love your feet. I loved Faye's feet, but they had these big things that she didn't like me to touch. They were sore. I don't know if she called them runions or something. Anyway, I thought they know it rhymes with an onion. I love onions. I associate everything, so I word associated her feet with onion feet. Anyway, Carolyn has athletic feet. She's a golfer, and Carolyn's feet are unreal. She rubs them up and down my stump sometimes when she's just hugging me and playing with her hair like a little girl. I love her so much. Her sister and I have been talking, and I'm here to find this airplane. And if I find the airplane, I'm hiring a pilot, because I hired a bus driver and he did okay for a while. George Anagnoska, the original Greek, will tell you that he got him to the gig, and those guys, man, did they rob me blind? Wow. I was told that Darren needed to fix something on the side of the road, and he spent a bunch of cash that George gave him, and I owed him a bunch more money, and then Darren took that money and did something with it. But after he stole the batteries and the TVs out of my bus, I guess I figured that since there's no more guitars left in my house, no more money left in my bank account, my personal belongings were never picked up, although I was told that he and Derek Welch were at the prison when he couldn't pick them up. I don't think he ever went. I don't think Derek was ever told the truth by Darren. Derek now works as my place, kind of like Alfred the Butler. I'm at Mystic Manor Studios, where Mike Willemsey is apparently recording a record, and I don't know if he'll ever do it, because he's probably the biggest, cheapest procrastinator I've ever met in my life. He puts it out there to the world that he's going to go over and learn how to use the mics and do all this stuff, and once I get home with my new airplane and my wife, I hope, I had a best man, Mike Walker. He said if I ever needed a best man again, make sure the woman was worthy, make sure she could golf, make sure she